What is really interesting about this is how one small bet can change your entire future in an instance. Kind of like putting your last dollar in a candy machine and wondering if you're gonna hit the jackpot. I remember feeling the same rush of excitement when I tried to save up enough for my first trip outside the country. Never knew if my leap of faith would pay off. Today we're talking about 5 risk and reward lessons Kaiji taught me, focusing on Kaiji's crazy adventures and the way he faced challenges head on when everything is on the line. Picture this: Kaiji is facing a mountain of debt. Is forced into gambling that tests his courage and instincts, reminding us that big risk can lead to big lessons if we play our cards right. I spent hours rewatching these nail-biting scenes and digging into my own personal life just to make sure I bring you genuine insights about embracing risk for real growth. You learn how to trust your gut, choose your battles, stand strong even when the odds are stacked against you. If you want to know how a single roll of the dice can flip your destiny, it's I'm so happy you're here, Zenroku family, and I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery and mastery. I still remember the times I took scary risks in my own life, like stepping out of my comfort zone and hoping I wouldn't fall flat on my face. Have you ever made a choice that felt like standing on the edge of a high diving board? Not sure if you should jump? Welcome to Momentum Mondays on the Zenroku Podcast Network. I'm Michael Yerby, your personal development expert and anime junkie, asking you to show your support by hitting the subscribe, liking, and sharing this episode with your friends and family. Last week, we explored 7 things Bunny Drop taught me about emotional growth. We saw how Daixji's decisions to raise Rin led him to discover deeper empathy, patience, and maturity. From juggling work schedules to learning to be fully present, we learned that caring for someone else can transform who you are in surprising ways. What we will discover is the power of stepping up to the gambling table of life. I still feel those butterflies from every big leap I ever taken. And Kaiji shows us that trusting your instincts can be both thrilling and terrifying. Then we explore how a clear plan can help you manage your stakes when everything seems uncertain. I'm reminded of how shaky I felt when I first tried to pave my own path, yet found strength in plotting each move. Finally, we'll break down how embracing calculated risk can lead to giant breakthroughs, because sometimes the scariest gambles paves the way for the greatest growth. Now let's dive into my first lesson of Kaiji reveals about risking big and see how it can change your life forever. Risk and reward lesson 1. You won't believe this, but Kaiji started his journey under a mountain of debt, where he was cornered into a shady gambling game aboard a cruise ship. This problem is that if he loses, he doesn't just owe money, he risked his freedom. Kaiji's the main character or protagonist of this story is an ordinary guy desperate for a second chance, but is trapped by the system that feeds his fears. By the end of this high-stakes scenario, he realized that sometimes you have to place a strategic bet on yourself, even when the odds look scary. I'm reminded of the moment in middle school where I almost got robbed at gunpoint. Having only my courage and friends' timely help made me see that trusting your instincts in a pressure cooker situation might be the only way out. Risk and reward lesson 2. Here's something that blew my mind. After barely escaping the first gamble, Kaiji finds himself in a brutal underworld labor camp where he's forced to work off his losses. The conflict becomes crystal clear. Kaiji can either sink into despair or risk it all again into yet another twisted game with life-changing consequences. He's exhausted, beaten down, and surrounded by people who've lost their hope. But Kaiji, my man, digs deep and chooses to face the possibility of bigger losses to win his freedom. Watching him weigh the risk of total failure against the slim chance of breaking free It makes you question how much you're willing to sacrifice for a better life. And if you guys are not willing to sacrifice some discomfort, you can't advance in life. You're gonna have to stretch yourself. It's some things that's not doing you any good in the next level of your life advancement. And those things have to be either willingly taken off, broken off, stretched, pulled, and restructured off for you to advance to the next level of life. So are you willing to do so? If not, you have your answer. But if you are, if you're the very few that's willing to change and make that change, you have an adventure on your hands, my friend. It reminds me of the years I spent trying to avoid bad influences in Miami neighborhoods. Even when everything felt stacked against me, I had to keep going, believing that bigger risk might open doors that fear would keep shut. Now that we've seen how Kaiji gambles everything to escape rock bottom, let's take a step back and see what these 2 episodes teaches us about trusting instincts and daring to take bold leaps in our own lives. This might change how you think about stepping into scary situations, because Kaiji's tense choices under extreme pressure shows that trusting your gut can be the turning point between staying stuck and finding a way out. And his decision to gamble again in that awful labor camp reminds us that sometimes facing a bigger risk is the only path towards true freedom. Risk and reward number 3. Let me paint a picture for you. Kaiji joins a sadistic card game where everyone is frantic to outsmart each other, like a room full of ticking time bombs. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The big conflict here is that every opponent or op can lie, cheat, or betray at any moment, and Kaiji must decide which player he can trust. Kaiji finds himself mentally and emotionally drained, but he determines to stay sharp and spot the hidden traps. In the end, by reading people's motives and keeping a cool head, he manages to survive the game without losing all hope. It reminds me of my early days at Minot Air Force Base, when I was often the only black person in my section as a jet troop. I had to learn fast who had my back and who wanted to see me fail, which taught me that a calm mind can spot hidden risk a mile away. Risk and reward lesson number 4. Here's a twist you didn't see coming. After battling through these brutal mind games, Kaiji is offered a chance at a last high-stakes challenge that could wipe his debt clean. The conflict is the final game is designed to push players into desperate moves so that Kaiji faces trick after trick designed to crush his spirit. Kaiji, though frightened, steels himself to believe in his own strategy rather than the manipulative rules around him. By trusting his instincts over the flashy bait, Kaiji shows a clear plan can beat any attempt to break you. Think back to my time at Kadena Air Force Base, I realized how often I had to keep faith in my own sense of direction, even when my family problems and cultural differences threatened to derail me. Sticking to a plan helped me pull through, and it can do the same for you too. Now that we've seen how Kaiji used both caution and boldness to navigate impossible odds, let's step back and break down what these points teaches us about staying sharp and believing in your own plan. What's fascinating about this is how Kaiji relies on reading other people's hidden motives to stay safe in a world where deception is the norm. Then in his unwavering focus on well thought out plan to save him from falling into the final trap of despair. Both points remind us that you can outlast even the toughest challenges when you keep calm, trust your instincts, and stick to your game plan. Risk and reward lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is gonna sound wild, but Kaiji's final showdown. He's going head to head in a nail-biting game that is literally putting him on a narrow path above a deep drop. One wrong step and it's all over. The conflict is crystal clear. One slip means not just losing money, but plunging into a darkness he can't escape from. Kaiji's the main character, torn between quitting while he's ahead or trusting his instincts to leap for that life-changing reward. In the end, by pushing beyond his own fear of falling, Kaiji shows us how sometimes the scariest moves can open the door to real freedom. It reminds me of the first time I was stationed at Minot, and I struggled to stay motivated in a place that felt freezing cold and isolated from everything I knew in Miami. Just like Kaiji, I had to push past my comfort zone, and that risk eventually led me to a stronger sense of who I am. Now that we've seen Kaiji's most heart-stopping gambling moment, let's piece together what all the high-risk moments can teach us about finding real courage and stepping into growth. This is where it gets really good, because Kaiji challenges his deepest fears by literally walking a tightrope between success and a total wipeout, reminding us that sometimes we have to bet on ourselves when everything's on the line. Let me share something unexpected. When Kaiji gambled under crushing debt and pressured into it, shows us how trusting your instincts can move you from desperation to hope. Then, as we saw, Kaiji's plan first approach helped him cut through even the most twisted challenges, reminding you that a solid strategy can protect your dreams when life tries to knock you down. Finally, in his ultimate heart-pounding tightrope walk, taught us that sometimes the biggest risks lead to the most profound growth, providing you can emerge stronger if you dare to take that leap. Do you take that leap? With all these lessons about risk, reward, and the power of believing in yourself, let's turn the page to our final comments and discover how you can put these insights to work in your own journey. Have you felt that rush when you trust your gut, hold on to a plan, and decide to leap into the unknown anyway? Just like Kaiji did in this episode, I spent days rewatching every tense gamble, writing notes late into the night so I could bring you the most authentic lessons on facing your fears head on. By watching this episode, you'll gain real insights on how to master risk-taking in ways that spark growth, so make sure to support our channel by directly clicking on the links in the description. I ain't gonna cap, I appreciate you being here. You're truly a part of our story. So hit that subscribe button, like, and share to keep our momentum going on Momentum Monday. Thanks for tuning in, Zeroku family. Until next time, keep trusting your instincts, forging your plan, and walking that tightrope to growth. Peace.